Okay, so everybody's here. Thank you all for being here. Can you all hear it in the back?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so my name is Kim Pilger, as you know. I'm talking to you today about how to write an EduBit. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what is an EduBit, because I know you're a little bit confused on that. And then we'll get into just talking a little bit about what they're useful for. And finally, not yet finally, but we're going to talk about how to write an EduBit. Now, if you're very interested and you want an EduBit of your own, I'm going to finish with how can I get an EduBit? Explain how the whole thing works. Okay, this talk will be about 9.5 minutes, okay? And if you have any questions, please save them till the end because I need to get this done quickly. So what is an EduBit? An EduBit is a qualifying micro-credential. So by qualifying, I mean that it is an official qualification on the New Zealand Qualification Framework. So this is the smallest, micro, obviously means small. So this is the smallest kind of credential that you can earn. So like you'd earn a certificate or diploma, you earn an EduBit. An EduBit is something really small, and it's evidenced proof of competence, which means it demonstrates that you know how to do something. So maybe it's something like a mechanical process. Maybe it's changing a tire. Maybe it's wiring something very simple. So EduBits are really useful tools, and they're a tool for job seekers because you can use an EduBit to demonstrate that you know how to do work. It's also a tool for employees to show that they can do something within an organization, and they're also a tool for employers or for HR who can look at what their staff can do, and they can build teams and they can get people on a job. So an EduBit kind of looks like this. This is an example, and this is called a badge. And when you get your EduBit, you earn this badge. This badge has some meta information in it, which will tell you the competencies that you had to use in order to get the EduBit. So why are they useful? One thing is they're very, very, very specific. So an EduBit will only target the specific skills that you have set up in your EduBit or that you've selected. So because they're specific, they're also really flexible. Flexible being that you can get an EduBit that explains exactly what you need to do in your job. And if your job is very unusual, that's okay. They can write an EduBit for you. We'll get to how to write them soon. An EduBit is also inexpensive and convenient. Inexpensive because you're only paying for what you're getting. EduBits costed about $100 US for the cheapest ones. Rather than several $100s or $1,000 for a training. They're very convenient because you can do them at your workplace. They're practical, so you don't have to go to a brick and mortar building. You don't have to bring in an expensive consultant or a trainer. You can just do it at your workplace and evidence what you've got. So it's good, it's valid. It does measure exactly what it's supposed to because the competencies are based on the learning outcomes that have been decided and agreed and validated beforehand. So it is a valid qualification. As I said, it is on the New Zealand Qualifying Framework. And finally, it is also searchable, which means that you can take this EduBit, you can host it on your LinkedIn or your social media, and the micro competencies that it represents can also be searched through that. So job seekers and people who are looking for employees can search for your EduBits. They are taking off around the world. This organization is working with an organization in Canada, but it's going all over the world, and it hopes to be booming in the near future. So how's an EduBit created? There's basically a 6-stage process, but I've kind of distilled this down into 3 main points just in order to kind of get the gist of it. The first thing that we do is, of course, we start with the learning outcomes, what it is that we're trying to assess, what it is that we want people to be able to do, and they write what is called a credential summary. And this is just an outline of what the credential is going to be. And this is sent for review. This has to be approved, and it must be approved before you move on. You can't go back and change step 1 in step 3. Everything moves one step at a time. So once that's done, we can start to work on the practical tasks and the subtasks. So your EduBit is going to be based on learning outcomes which are evidenced by tasks, which will demonstrate those processes and those things that you need to know. And I know I'm rushing a little here because I'm really aware of the time. It's just get this back on, sorry. It's not very convenient. Okay, so I'm going to give you this as a really quick example because you all know something about music and you know that this is one of my hobbies, that I like to play with GarageBand. So imagine, and this is a little silly, that I wanted to create some kind of music score and I want to hire all of you to submit music to me. And I want to know that you're capable of doing that. So maybe I send you out to get an EduBit on this process so that we can tell that you know how to do it. What I need to do is identify which learning outcomes I need from you, and then think about what the practical tasks and subtasks I need for you to demonstrate competence in this. Each of these will be evidenced in some way. You'll submit evidence. You'll prove to me that you are who you say you are. That evidence will be assessed and moderated by a trained group of assessors, and they will award you with the micro-credential, which is validated. So these are based on verbs which, very briefly, come from this kind of concept. They're not lifted right from here, but from this kind of concept. And basically we're looking at different kinds of knowledge and process skills and putting them together to select verbs. And these verbs will determine at what level the credential is. So asking people to create something new, that might be a level 4 or level 3. And just asking somebody to sort of show understanding, that might be at a lower level. So let's say I'm working on a pretty high level set of tasks here. I've identified my learning outcomes sort of in my head so far, and I'm imagining what my final product might look like. So here's what ideally it might look like on their website. Show us you know how to create, record, and publish an original piece of music. And from this point, I can identify the learning outcomes or the tasks that you might have to use. You may have to use an instrument, for example. You may have to use an interface to get onto your computer. You may need to use the software. And finally, from here, we can really set up the subtasks which can provide the evidence of these competencies. So what kind of competencies are we looking at here? At a very basic level, we might be looking at an understanding of music, understanding of notes, understanding of scales and modes, understanding about how scales interact with one another. We've also got some technical knowledge of playing an instrument. We've also got this, the hardware and the software. So understanding how to use the hardware, how to use the software to put it all together. It's possible this is too much. It's possible that I've created more than one EduBit here, right? So I'm gonna have to review this and go back and see, is this too big? Is this more than one? But let's assume we're just gonna look at the basic competency of using the hardware, interfacing with the software. So I need to assess it, and this is what the assessment might look like. This is what the final writing might look like. You're required to submit evidence of the following. So you need to compose the music, record and arrange it, and publish it on SoundCloud. This is what this EduBit looked like for me when I went online to do this one. It gave me 3 things I have to do, and that all this work must be my own. It's all my own. Okay, so there are also learning recommendations. So I might put, Nat, your father moderates the GarageBand site, so I might put that group on there, for example. Alex, you've got a great knowledge of musical theory, and I might, use you or some of your knowledge as a learning recommendation. And we put it all together. And I'm going to ask to see evidence. So this might be evidence of some kind of testimonial. So this is me explaining, or maybe this is me writing out, mapping out a song. You may actually post a video. So here's a little video of me. Is that going to work? Let me just turn it on here. Boop. No. Okay. So here's a video of me, and I'm demonstrating how I plug my guitar into my computer. And I can't go directly into the computer. The guitar's analog and the computer is digital, so I have to go through this interface. So I'm demonstrating what the interface is, how to use the interface, and I'm also demonstrating how I use the software. So that might be some of the submittable evidence that I give. Okay, so that kind of in a nutshell is the process of how it's put together and what it's for and how it's useful, but not exactly yet how can I get one. It's really easy. The website's easy to remember, edubits.nz. And you register for a free account. You can just click here where it says Get Started, and it will let you browse through a catalog of different topics, and you can select from one of these topics. There'll be a big drop-down menu with all the different EduBits that they already offer, and oops, that's it, that's time. If it's not there what you're looking for, you can request to have an EduBit designed for you, and then the writer will go through that process. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Class dismissed.